Greetings, fellow RotoBallers. It is time for our start sits for Week 8. And Dave, I'm going to go first with my QB start of the week. Now, this is a guy who returned to the lineup to throw for 261 yards last week. That is the third game that he's thrown for over 260. He's going up against the Detroit Lions defense that is allowing the second most fantasy points to quarterbacks. I'm talking about Tua Tagovailoa. The Lions, they've allowed 4 quarterbacks to post 18-plus fantasy points. I like that margin right there. Tua, start him up in Week 8.
Now, Joey, in a week with no Mahomes or Herbert, you might be thinking, Trevor Lawrence is sitting on my bench. He's been waiting for this very moment. Well, we say this week, he's more trick than treat. Shout out to my Halloween shirt my mom bought me. He did break 300 yards versus a tough Giants defense, but now he has to take on the worst matchup for opposing quarterbacks, Denver. And he has to do it while battling jet lag. This is the London game. We always try and avoid these. I expect this game to be whatever the opposite of a shootout is. He's a sit for me.
Now let's go over to the metaphorical version of fantasy football, bobbing for apples style. Let's talk about starts at tight end this week. I'm going with Irv Smith versus the Cardinals. The Cardinals are allowing the second most fantasy points to tight ends. 3 touchdowns to the tight end position this year. And Dave, 5 tight ends have scored 7.5 fantasy points or more. That is tight end gold these days. Irv Smith, start him up in Week 8.
I blame the Cardinals for making me learn the name Juwan Johnson. And now here's a sit for next week, this week, and forever, Joey. Kyle
Goodbye.
Pitts. Kyle Pitts.
Bon
It's not you. It's just everything about you. Your quarterback, your coach, your GM. We think you're talented, but apparently nobody who matters does, okay? The matchup is tough, but even in great matchups, you disappoint, bro. You've only surpassed 25 yards once, and it just so happened to be the one freaking time on the show we told people to sit you. So guess what? We're telling you to sit him. If he blows up, you're welcome, America.
Get out.
On to wide receivers, Joey. Now, here's a guy you can start with confidence, Devonta Smith. I love players coming off a bye, especially when they're going to get a Steelers defense that has been a top 5 matchup for opposing wide receivers, just yielded 165 pass yards to Waddle and receiving yards, of course. I think both Eagles wideouts will eat this week, but I like Devonta Smith's speed to give that banged up secondary a lot of trouble.
I love that call, Dave. Let's go to our wide receiver sit of the week. This guy's going up against a Giants defense that's allowing the fewest fantasy points to wide receivers. Only 3 touchdowns to the position. Not one 100 receiving yard game yet this year. I'm sitting Tyler Lockett. Look, I know DK Metcalf is on the shelf. You're going to be tempted, but Tyler Lockett, 16.1 yards per catch last year, down to 11.2. Only 62 receiving yards combined the last 2 weeks. Tyler Lockett, he's going to be a sit for me, Dave.
Yeah, I like the call, Joey. Without DK, he might get a lot more attention from that defense. Now, with all the injuries, you're probably forced to play guys like friggin' Chuba Hubbard, okay? But it feels weird calling Joe Mixon a start because you're like, yeah, Dave, of course we're going to start him. But we think this is the week he's going to prove worthy of that first-round pick. All the signs are here, folks. He's getting that insane workload, 77% of the snaps he played. The dude has only scored 3 times, yet per Mike Clay of ESPN, his expected total tutties based on usage is 7.8. So the dude has some positive regression coming his way, and who better to jumpstart that than a defense that just allowed Gus Edwards to literally come off the pup and rush for 66 yards and 2 tutties. Fire up, Mixon.
Dave, for a running back sits, we're going to do a double Gus sighting and maybe a third when Carl jumps into the comments after this, because I'm sitting Ravens running backs versus the Buccaneers. This is an easy one. Fewest fantasy points to running backs the Bucs have allowed this year. They've only allowed one running back to post more than 65 rushing yards. And I ask you, is that going to be one single Ravens running back this week? Gus Edwards, Kenyon Drake. I don't like either of them. I'd lean on Lamar this week from the rushing side of things. It is a sit for me. So everyone take a deep breath, because here comes your 60-second start sit breakdown, and starting right now. Hey, everybody, this is our Week 8 starts and sits. I'm going to go all starts right here. Tua Tagovailoa. This is a bad Detroit Lions secondary. He came back last week. He's ready to roll this week. Fire him up. Irv Smith, good matchup, good floor. Start Irv Smith this week, and Devonta Smith, green light matchup versus the Steelers. We like him a whole lot. And then finally, Joe Mixon on Monday Night Football. I think he gets a touchdown on this one. Week 8, he's a big start for me.
And you're leaving the following players on your bench. Do they even celebrate Halloween in the UK? I don't know, but I can tell you Trevor Lawrence is going to have more tricks than treats this week versus a stout Broncos defense. Do you want to feel better? Sit Kyle Pitts. Feels great. We did it last week. We're going to do it again. You can find 26 yards elsewhere. And if you want to scare yourself for Halloween, start Tyler Lockett playing a Giants defense, giving up the fewest points to wide receivers. And finally, we love Gus the Bus Edwards, but not on the Thursday night game, taking on the league's top run defense. Now, like, subscribe, and have a happy and safe Halloween.
Recording on a Tuesday. Go Bears and Halloween.